Guard Haley Van Lith fired back at a Los Angeles Times column that described LSU players as quote-unquote dirty debutantes. Here's what Van Lith had to say.
We do have a lot of black women on this team. We do have a lot of people that are from different areas. And unfortunately, you know, that bias does exist still today. And a lot of the people that are making those comments are being racist towards my teammates. And, you know, I'm in a unique situation where I see with myself, you know, I'll talk trash and I'll get a different reaction than if Angel talks trash. I have a duty to my teammates to have their back. And obviously, you know, some of the words that were used in that article were very sad and upsetting, calling us basically the dirty debutantes. Like, that has nothing to do with sports, and that's not motivating. In my opinion, I know for a fact that people see us differently because we do have a lot of black women on our team who have an attitude and like to talk trash, and you know, people feel a way about it. But at the end of the day, I'm rocking with them because they don't let that change who they are, and they stay true to themselves, and so I'll have their back.
Very well said. Keyshawn, your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I like her.
So do I.
So there's a lot of people gonna dislike Haley now. She stepped in it, and I appreciate that for sticking up for her teammates and being a part of that. But when you start talking about certain, and I hate having to deal with this type of stuff, Skip, all the time. But when you start talking about regions in different areas and perspectives of how people think, you know, the individual that wrote the article in the LA Times obviously felt a certain way at that particular time when they wrote the article about LSU's basketball program compared to UCLA's. Where at UCLA, they're the sweethearts, they're American sweethearts. They're the milk and cookies, as they refer to it as.
That's what he wrote.
You look at it, and he says that the debutantes, the dirty. Now, first of all, I don't even know what the hell that is.
I don't know.
Okay, other than something that they use in the South, and that's a South thing. It's a regional thing in that particular region. I had to look it up to find out. You know, obviously I know what Louisiana hot sauce is. I probably got about 3 or 4 bottles sitting in my cabinet at home right now, and I do use it. Now you say, well, is it racist? I don't know if the individual that wrote the article is a racist or not, because I don't know him. I have no idea. I've never interacted with them at all. But I can certainly tell you what it is. It's what I call dog whistling. Okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't, and what I mean by this is, you can't all of a sudden say these things, but all of a sudden say, no, I didn't mean it that way, to protect your job. So you redact something. If you didn't mean it to be hurtful, you wouldn't be redacting anything.
Well, the LA Times redacted it.
Yes, but I work for the LA Times, so therefore that means that I redacted it. Just because the overall scope and the corporation of the people says, no, we can't do that. The editor and you're a columnist, you know how this stuff works. You wrote for many years. You're going to send in your work, they're going to do what they need to do, and then they're going to stamp it of approval. Somebody approved it. Somebody, right, Skip? Somebody had to approve it. It wasn't just, I'm writing it and I'm putting it in the newspaper myself. It went to the editor saw it, read it, and signed off on it.
I'll hold off until Paul goes, and then
and so when you look at it, it's misinformed, it's ill misinformed. And it's ridiculous that we still, in this day and age, have to deal with this sort of behavior by people. The dog whistling and the little subtle things. We see it all the time in sports, man. It's been going on for years. It ain't nothing new. If it's a white football player who happens to be sneaky fast and really good and in and out of the building the first one, and he's smart, his dad grew up as a coach, don't just say the dude's good, man. Where he's a hard worker, where the other guy, God-given talent, he really didn't have to work. It's all those little bitty things that they put out there in the universe. Now, this team, obviously, is going on, and they're going to play tonight in a big-time game against Iowa.
It'll be the most watched game ever.
Well, I'm going to be waiting for another game, but I'm going to watch it too with Paul probably. But in the end, it's ridiculous that this is even being talked about. And I understand Kim Mulkey, some of these writers and stuff, they're kind of coming at her about her career and who she is.
She goes at them.
But she should.
Okay.
If they trying to assassinate her character and who she is, you absolutely should protect yourself.
All right, go, Paul.
I see as this trying to create a narrative, and when one team looks a certain way, as the LSU Tigers look, you have black women who are demonstrative, who talk trash, and on the other hand, other teams, if they don't do that, they're looked at as more classy. But look, LSU has won a championship this way. I mean, this is sports. And what we got to understand in sports, you're going to have different personalities, people who come from certain places. Like for me, for example, in the men's game, this is every day. This is every day.
I was about to say, a whole lot of men's teams have won championships being that way, right?
Exactly. And so now that it's brought to the girls' game, and now we finally sparked some interest in all of this.
Have we?
I mean, it's on a whole nother, let's skip. I'm so anticipating watching this game tonight.
Yep.
And for these articles to come out and just try to change the whole narrative and paint LSU as the team that's wearing a black hat, that's fine. I actually love it. You know, I was one that wore the black hat. And so you're trying to say good versus evil, black hat, whatever. LSU has taken on the personality of their head coach, and they've won that way. Yeah, we see the hand waving from Reese, the ring finger, and the other teams are not doing these things. So that's classless. Well, listen, if this is going to produce you winning and doing it how you want to do it, then keep going, Reese. Keep going, Kim, because I love it. I know you guys are going to watch, and I'm going to embrace them. But I don't see any racism in all of this. So what I see is a spark in the game that's much needed. And I'm glad that they're able to play the villain role and just continue to go out there and win and do it with a smile on their face.
I've only seen this type of thing one other time that I can remember as I was thinking about it is in '88, the Catholics versus the Criminals.
Oh,
that's the only college football with Miami played Notre Dame, and it was the Catholics versus the Criminals because it was so-called allegedly questionable character. You know, Catholics versus the convicts.
Convicts.
Criminals, convicts, I'll get it right.
Whatever, it's close enough.
You're going to jail regardless the way they made it sound. That's what it was. But that's the only time I've ever seen that, Skip. Other than that, I've never seen this before.
Okay, allow me to make the most obvious statement in the history of the world. Is racism still alive and hell out there in our country? You better believe it is. So we accept that as a given before we plunge into this. Now, to your point, this writer at the LA Times, is he racist? I have no idea. I don't know him.
Don't know him.
I do. All right, at least I should say. I used to know the LA Times because I worked there back in the day when it was a top 5 sports section in the United States of America. We thought it was the top 1 sports section. Trust me on this. When I turned in whatever piece of work I did, it would get edited by at least 3 people, and there's no way Dirty Debutantes would get through.
Yes.
Okay, I'd never heard of Dirty Debutantes either. Kim Mulkey said she looked it up, and she was just, like, astounded by it. At one point, it was used as the title of a porn show, some kind of porn show. So anyway, it's got a terrible, terrible connotation to it.
Right.
Okay. So the point is, how can that get through in today's LA Times? Okay, I do know this, reading the bio of the beat writer. He's the beat writer for UCLA. He wrote a book for UCLA fans about things to love about UCLA sports. So, as you know from your time playing, this wasn't a columnist writing this. This was the beat writer who clearly loves
every day.
Yeah. Corey Close is the UCLA coach, and she's the flip side for journalists to Kim Mulkey because she's come one, come all. She